Well, since the start of the 21st century, Africa has experienced a significant boost, especially the poorest countries on the continent. Countries of sub-Saharan Africa achieved annual growth rates of about 6.2%. By comparison, that is twice the growth rate seen in Latin America during the same period of time. Tonight on Bottom Line Africa, we'll be talking about the new scramble for Africa amid Africa's economic growth. And what a way to have such a discussion. Then on a day, Mauritius is celebrating its Independence Day, a country that is projected to become Africa's first developed country by the year 2022. This is Bottom Line Africa. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim. We'll have that discussion and much more, but first, and the headlines tonight. It will now be impossible to challenge President Pierre Nkurunziza after Burundi's ruling party named him the eternal spiritual guide.
No, we are here because of the frustration that the employer are displaying to our members.
Anxiety among thousands of farm workers linked to the troubled Gupta family, whose finances now remain in limbo as Bank of Baroda closes shop in South Africa.
It's a pity I can't go and launch my platform in my country.
Opposition groups in the Democratic Republic of Congo rally behind exiled leader Moise Katumbi ahead of the December vote. And top diplomats from the US and Russia just concluded their visits to Africa as China seeks to consolidate its hold on the continent. What's in it for the Africans? We'll weigh in tonight. Well, and that last bit on our highlight informs the basis of our Twitter poll tonight, and we are asking you, do you think Africa stands to gain from the renewed interest by the West and China? Do you think Africa stands to gain from the renewed interest by the West and China? This comes in the wake of the visit by two key individuals. One is the Russian foreign minister as well as the US Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, who was in Kenya and towards several other countries. So we'd like to hear your view on these. Our Twitter handle is at KTN News. You can as well tweet me at Yusuf Ibrahim. The hashtag to use is Bottomline Africa. We already have our guest on standby with us in studio. I have Abdullah Boru, who is the Horn of Africa specialist. I'm also going to be joined shortly by Abel Oyeyo, who is an international relations expert. Don't miss that at the second bit of our program right on KTN News. But now, let me begin with our top story tonight. And the Ethiopian military has opened an investigation after 9 civilians were killed and 12 others injured during an operation against rebels in Moyale border town with Kenya. Now, military statement said several soldiers have been suspended over the incident. The Ethiopian news agency said that the soldiers were deployed to the town in the Oromia region to pursue Oromo Liberation Front fighters who had crossed into Ethiopia from 3 locations. OLF is a secessionist group which the government has branded a terrorist organization. Ethiopia has been experiencing anti-government protests since 2016, mostly in the Oromia and Amhara region, where residents say they're being marginalized. Ethiopia's parliament voted in February to impose a 6-month nationwide state of emergency. The ruling Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front is currently engaging in talks to choose a leader to replace Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn, who resigned last month. The Kenya Red Cross Society says it has received at least 2,000 Ethiopian asylum seekers in Moyale town following their displacement from Ethiopia. Over to yet another developing story in the continent, and Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza has been named Eternal Supreme Guide by his political party. Yes, you heard me right. The move means no one in the governing CNDD-FDD is allowed to disagree with his choices, according to the party's Secretary General, Evariste Ndayishimiye. Now, critics say a cult of personality is developing around 54-year-old Nkurunziza. Jeremy Minani, the leader of the opposition rally of Burundi Democrats, RDB, told Burundi Radio Public African that, quote-unquote, President Pierre Nkurunziza's naming himself the leader of the ruling party is part of his plan to reach his goal and to make it easy for him to eliminate every challenge without difficulty. Now, the new title has been bestowed just months ahead of a national referendum, which could end with Nkurunziza getting permission to rule until 2034. He's already serving a controversial third term in office. And of course, that is a story that we're still following for you here on Bottom Line Africa. I remember just the other day, more than 1,000 people left dead in Burundi and hundreds of thousands others displaced after Nkurunziza assumed his third term in office. Now, Adamu Gashoma is the father of Aisha Gashoma, a 12-year-old girl who's also one of the 110 schoolgirls that were kidnapped last month by suspected Boko Haram militants from a school in Dapchi village that is in Yobe State. The attack happened on the very first day that Gashoma's daughter started school as a secondary school student. He and other parents who visited Nigeria's state capital of Abuja to protest this week said they doubt the promises of the government and said they have been scared to send their other children to school. The attack in Dapchi is thought to be the largest mass abduction since Boko Haram took more than 270 schoolgirls from the northeastern town of Chibok in 2014, sparking an online campaign that went viral, inspiring several governments into action. Boko Haram wants to create a state adhering to a strict interpretation of the Islamic law. Its name roughly translates as Western education is forbidden, the Hausa language widely spoken in northeast Nigeria.
Make sure that all schools, both girls and boys' school, be secured, because I have said it the other time, if this thing continues to happen, so one day you will discover that there are no functional secondary schools, more especially in the northeast region. If this thing continues, I don't think someone can send his, even the boys cannot, some parents cannot even send, talk less of girls, even my boy. I cannot see him because we are on doubt from now on until when this thing comes to an end.
A concerned parent there speaking. Now, Rwanda is hosting the General Assembly of the African Union of Broadcasting, a consortium of broadcasters from across the continent. The forum is aimed at discussing, among other issues, the challenges affecting the media industry in Africa. The forum has attracted communication ministers and chief executives from all over the continent. Our Kigali-based correspondent, Eugene Anangwe, spoke to Arthur Asimwe, the Director General of the Rwanda Broadcasting Agency, on the expectations from the forum.
The African Union of Broadcasters are actually meeting right here in Kigali, Rwanda, and I'm now joined by the Director General of Rwanda Broadcasting Agency, Arthur Asimwe, who's actually the hosting country for this particular forum. Arthur, just to bring us to speed on some of the conversations that are coming out of this forum, what is the expectation out of this forum as far as broadcasting in Africa is concerned?
Thank you very much. I think there are largely about three things that are coming out of this forum. One, we're going to be discussing the process of digital migration and looking at many of African brothers or fellow African countries that have missed the deadline. So far, I think only 15 out of the 55 countries have managed to migrate from analog to digital. So when you're talking about, the rest of the world is talking about HD, high definition, 4K, 8K, and for us in Africa, we're just still on analog. So we're going to come up with concrete measures of what needs to be done, and especially with the support of Smart Africa, to see what sort of strategies or what sort of support we need to give to the African countries that have failed to meet the deadline, to be able to migrate to digital. Because digital technology has so many benefits. I mean, really, the African audience deserves a high-quality image that is true of the 21st century broadcasting. So one of the key highlights of the conference is to make sure that we discuss the challenges that are within digital migration and come up with concrete measures that can address this issue.
Right. Also, interestingly, we've seen some conversations on content sharing propping up in the course of the conversations that have been going on in this forum. I want to hear, moving forward, coming out of this forum, what would be the next stages to do? Because we've heard of productions coming out of certain media houses that could actually help other people living in other countries, but we don't see that sort of cooperation among the media houses in Africa. Why?
I think it is said and said more often than it's done. We always talk about exchanging content between media outlets, broadcasting outlets, but quite often we don't do it. Yet, I mean, there could be a nice story that resonates well with Rwanda audience that can be picked from Kenya. I don't have to send a reporter in Kenya to go and do a story in Kenya. Yet, if there's an exchange between me and a broadcasting media in Kenya, I'll be able to pick it. But there's programming that cuts across, that resonates across the continent, that we should be sharing on our platforms. If it's something to do with ICT advancement in a country, whatever particular country, I should be able to play it on my platform and be able to show my audience what this other country has done. So we need to really come up with concrete measures and see how we can be able to create a platform that we can be picking stories from, that stories that appeal to audiences across the borders. Right. But one other important thing that we discussed here is, and we're happy that we are joined by the president of CAF, right, is the football rights. We had a very good meeting with the CEOs and the president of CAF on how the rights can be affordable. It is embarrassing to see that your country is participating in a tournament and the public broadcaster in that country is unable to buy the rights because they're extremely expensive. So we put up a team to carry on this conversation with CAF and the people who have the rights, most of them are based in Paris, to see how we can come up with an affordable package. Right. And be able to show these tournaments to our audiences in Africa. So for someone who's watching, maybe before I let you go, and has picked on that particular issue of pushing for the cutting down of the cost for the rights for broadcasting soccer tournaments as far as CAF is concerned, what sort of conversations are going to be happening moving forward? Is there a timeline? You've said you've set up a team. What should the people be expecting now? First of all, it's embarrassing that the negotiations to carry football rights are done from Paris. They're not done from Nairobi or Yaoundé or Lagos or Cairo. They're carried out from Paris. So one of the things we said, no, we must have a representative at the CAF level, preferably our organization, the African Union of Broadcasters, to be able to carry our voice. Because now we're like orphans. When you get an offer from Lagared, the guys who are based in Paris, they come and tell you, this is the offer for the rights to show this game. You either take it or not. So you basically you're squeezed. You don't have a way of negotiating. So what I've said is that there must be a strong presence of representatives of public broadcasters in Africa to go and negotiate with these people and be able to give us an affordable rate. It is extremely embarrassing to see that a tournament like CHAN is far much expensive than World Cup. World Cup is cheaper than CHAN, which is being held across, next door. So we've agreed that we put up a team, we continue the conversation, and see how the rates can be brought down. We don't want free things. We don't want the rights for free. We said we don't want the rights for free, but let's be affordable. And the beauty about it is that the president of CAF, he seemed to have been shocked, but he was so impressed that this conversation happened and said, he's going to take it as a priority.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Arthur, for your time. Of course, we'll be following up on this particular forum that is actually taking place right here in Kigali, Rwanda. It will be going up to the 16th of March. Of course, the conversations as highlighted by the Director General of Rwanda Broadcasting Agency, Arthur Simwe, picking up on some of the major talking points that are taking place right here. Of course, it will remain to be seen whether indeed media owners in Africa, spearheaded or under the patronage of the African Union Broadcasting or Union of Broadcasters, will be able to speak with one voice on issues to do with content sharing as far as the region is concerned. So back to you in studio from Kigali, Rwanda.
Thank you, Gina Nangwe, for that. Now from Rwanda, let me take you over to South Africa, where the scandal-hit Gupta family has been dealt another blow after a court bid to keep an Indian bank in South Africa failed. Now, the Bank of Baroda is the last financial institution in the country which is still prepared to lend to Gupta-linked companies. South Africa's major banks turned their backs on the businesses 2 years ago, saying they brought with them too much risk to their reputation. As a result, 19 South African companies which have links to the Indian-born family are reliant on the Bank of Baroda, which announced it was closing its South African arm just last month. But attempts to stop the closure failed this morning when a judge in Pretoria ruled the bank's right to shut down overruled their rights as customers. The decision will make it all but impossible for the companies to operate in South Africa. Last week, workers at the Gupta-owned Optimum coal mine in Mpumalanga went on strike over concerns about the security of salaries after Bank of Baroda announced the closure of the mine's account by the end of March 2018.
No, we are here because of the frustration that the employer are displaying to our members. Because the issue around the salaries, we are not too sure whether we are going to get paid. The issue around the commitments toward the social labor plan, the issue around the non-payments of the suppliers, that will lead to almost 29 million.
On the payments for tomorrow, of course, as you know, we have paid you since the beginning, from January, all the way up until even as much as the 15th of this month. We have released your interim payments to you for the salaries of tomorrow. Trust me, the team is busy having a discussion now with the banks. They're busy having a discussion now with the vendors so that this money can be released. I will be able to update you, and we do believe that we'll be successful in it. But I today cannot commit to you anything that today I do not have the 100% the answer for.
Okay.
And that's not all with the Guptas. Separately, Canada went to court in South Africa Friday to ground a private jet used by the Gupta business family, which has been accused of corruptly influencing former President Jacob Zuma. Export Development Canada, ADC, the country's state-run trade credit agency, alleges the controversial family's businesses defaulted on a $41 million loan for the Bombardier Global 6000, which subsequently disappeared. Now, the Canadian-built aircraft public trafficking device was deactivated on February 4th, the court had. ADC is now petitioning for the aircraft to be grounded wherever it is located until a bid to have the plane seized can be heard in an English court. Now, ADC doesn't, quote-unquote, want to sell this aircraft, they say, and in the interim period, they just want the aircraft to be put in a safe place where it can be stored and where it cannot be used by the Guptas.
It's the depreciation and the damage to the aircraft, it's the reputational harm, and it's the risk that the aircraft may be forfeited because it is the proceeds of crime or an instrumentality of a crime. When in the English proceedings, then the aircraft will be sold and the money which is obtained from it will be used to recover the debt. But that's not what my clients want in these proceedings. All my clients want is for the aircraft to sit in a hangar somewhere where it can't be flown to Dubai or to India or to any other location that is unknown to my client.
And for the applicants to rely upon an inference that they're going to either fly the airplane into the ground or they're going to commit some unlawful act, there must be some basis on which they're going to do that, and it's highly speculative. And my submission to you is that the most probable inference is that they just say, they've taken a view they don't want interference from these applicants grounding the aircraft if it lands at a particular point one day.
Now over to the situation in the DRC. And the Democratic Republic of Congo's opposition groups rallied behind exiled figure Moise Katumbi there are talks in South Africa on Saturday aimed at forging a united front to fight elections due by the end of the year. Now, exiled Katumbi led dozens of opposition leaders at the three-day meeting in Johannesburg to map out a strategy for the planned December 23rd election to replace President Joseph Kabila. Now, the election was originally scheduled for 2016, but was repeatedly delayed, leading to unrest in the vast mineral-rich country. Western powers there are reluctant, hoping it will avoid bloodshed. Now, politicians at the Johannesburg meeting suggested the majority of the opposition groupings were behind the influential former governor of mineral-rich Katanga province. Katumbi, a wealthy businessman and former governor of Katanga province, who is president of the major football club, TP Mazembe, claims to have unrivaled popularity across the country.
Platform, ensemble, together, in English. And because we have to have election this year. And what is important for us in Congo, we need peace. And if we need peace, we are going to have election. We don't want to go and fight for election. No, it's a pity I can't go and launch my platform in my country. You should know what type of government we are having in the country. Anyway, I just want to come in Mandela land because this country is a country of democracy. I came here not for joking, not just for playing. I came here to launch my platform, and I'm going to go I'm going to go back because I'm not going to be candidate outside the country. I'm going to be a candidate in my country.
Now, AMISOM civil military cooperation officers have been asked to engage more with communities to help strengthen relations between the mission and the local population. Now, the plea was made by the AMISOM Chief Military Intelligence Officer, Colonel Naboth Musigwa, during the closing ceremony of a one-week training course for African Union mission in Somalia and Somali National Army. CIMIC officers held in Mogadishu over the weekend. Now, Colonel Musigwa said CIMIC officers can help speed up the stabilization process by facilitating the implementation of quick impact projects and programs that can improve the socio-economic lives of residents. The AMISOM leadership has implemented measures aimed at improving relations between the military and civilians.
So if the CIMIC activists, if you don't reflect a good picture on our side, then the civilian will get a negative attitude.
Civil military cooperation is an art of warfare which is used to win hearts and minds of the civil population in conflict regions. This is employed during peace resolution, be it peace building, peacekeeping, or peace enforcement.
Put this course together so that we were able to gather all the sector CIMIC officers and spend a week with them going through CIMIC activities, some of the wider stabilisation activities, how that fits into their role within Somalia and within the AMISOM mission.
This course will enhance our activities. In fact, it will rejuvenate the efforts and the strength in dealing with civilian in relation to civil military relations.
I, as a medical personnel, have learned a lot because most of the time I interact with the civilians a lot, but there are so many things which I've learned a lot, which I will implement down in the field.
Over to the situation in Egypt, and campaigning began in Egypt's presidential election on Saturday with incumbent Abdel Fattah el-Sisi likely to romp to victory in the absence of a serious challenger in the two-candidate race. The former army chief will face the head of the liberal Ghad party, Mustafa Musa, after the other potential contenders withdrew or were arrested ahead of the March 26th to 28th polls. In January, a coalition of 8 opposition parties and 150 public figures called for a boycott of the election, branding it a charade. Musa is little known by the public and previously backed the incumbent. Egypt's National Election Authority has urged the media to be objective and banned government officials from trying to influence the outcome of the elections positively or negatively. Sisi's campaign spokesman Mohammed Baha Abu Shuka, in statements aired Saturday by television stations there, said campaigners will canvass the country door to door to encourage people to vote.
We have a large program targeting and addressing the issues of 14 popular sectors, and we have solutions for all these 14 popular sectors. We have a wide map that will enable us to get a large number of votes and win.
It doesn't matter who wins. What matters is for Egypt to win and for Egypt to remain high. Whether Musa or President Sisi win, they both have the same goal, which is the country. We are behind them and we support them. But today, we are rallying for Mustafa Musa, because we want to see another another political figure.
The reason why the CAD party took to the streets to nominate Mustafa Musa is to enrich democracy and this election season so we can put an end to the doings of our enemies who want Egypt to fall and remain without elections.
Now, if you ever dreamt of playing alongside Afro jazz legend Oliver Mtukudzi, just drop into his studio in Zimbabwe and pick up an instrument. Mtukudzi, one of Africa's most famous and admired musicians, has an open-door policy at his art center in Norton, about 50 kilometers west of Harare. Age 65 and with more than 60 albums under his belt, the self-taught singer and guitarist says the center provides a home for all musicians, particularly youngsters who often face disapproval from their parents at home. Now, named Pakare Paye, which translates as same old place in the Shona language, it charges no fees, employs no tutors, and follows no curriculum. The husky-voiced Mtukudzi, whose stage name is Tuku, said he started to plan the center after realizing the problems he confronted in the 1970s when he began singing still existed.
We don't deal with education here. We deal with talent. We're different from a college. College says, hey, you don't know, come. We will teach you. But we don't say that. We say, hey, you've got it. Come, let's learn from you.
It's a free platform to be practicing, to be learning. So that's when Dr. Oliver discovered me. And he said, you know what? You have a very beautiful voice, but we want to nurture that. So he took time with me. He was training me. We had sessions, and that's how I got to join the band.